Hey internets, it's Jake and welcome to Mini Terrain Domain, where today you're gonna learn how to make faux wood. So today I'm going to be showing you some techniques for converting standard pink foam insulation or even white foam core board, or any kind of foam really, into wood. The real secret here is the wire brush. Figure out which direction your wood grain is going to run, and just with light pressure drag that wire brush back and forth across the foam. Make sure to get your edges. Here we're making a dock piece. To draw the planks, I take a simple stir stick and I just use that as my straight edge and to get the width. I'm just using a pencil with light pressure to simulate the gaps between the boards. And here I'm doing the edges for this dock piece. All along the edges here you're going to want to connect your lines to complete the illusion of boards that are laid out across. Now, of course, these boards have got to be attached somehow, so I like to imagine where the beams are underneath, and I'm using a mechanical pencil, 0.5 millimeter, and just pressing into the foam to create those holes where the nails would be, nailing the boards to the beams of the dock. Next up, we're going to look at this is roughly a 5 by 6 inch floor piece. We're going to do the same exact thing. I figured out which direction I want my floorboards to run, and I drag my wire brush back and forth repeatedly with light pressure to get the simulated wood grain. We're going to go the full width of the board and draw out our planks using our stir stick guide method. It's a pretty straightforward and simple method. Now here, I've pre-cut a couple of different stir sticks. This one's at 4 inches, and I'm going to switch here in a minute to a 3-inch one. This will allow you, with each demarcation at 1 inch, to get your offsets. Now you can use any offset pattern you want, and you just mark your board accordingly. Once I get the offset pattern figured out, I can stop using the guide, and I'm just going to go down the edges similar to what you would do with a offset brick pattern, using light pressure with the pencil to simulate the gaps between the boards. And again, we're going to use the mechanical pencil here to put our nail holes in. Now note that I'm putting 2 nail holes on either side of the plank lines because that's where the boards would have been nailed. And it's not necessary to do the nail step, that's purely a design choice. I've pre-cut these pieces for a simple mine entrance beam structure. This is to show that you can do the same technique with much larger pieces. Here I'm taking a little bit off the edges to simulate a hand-hewn, I don't know if that's even a word, but that these are cut from large trees by hand, maybe with axes or something like that. Now I'm taking my wire brush and I'm making sure that I'm scoring every surface that will be visible, and then I just make sure all the pieces fit together nicely. And finally, with the foam core board here, I've traced a simple door shape, and this other one can be a square door or a tabletop. This is cheap dollar store foam core that DM Scotty likes to use. He knows what he's talking about. Same technique applies. You very much want to use light pressure on this particular foam core board because you will get a lot more flakiness off of it. It's a lower density foam. And I'm going to use the same plank tracing method, but I'm not going to put any nail holes on here. Now, I've already black bombed all of the pieces to show you the painting techniques. Everything is covered in a black acrylic paint. Now here I'm using a nutmeg brown, and you can see that it's a thinner paint, so a lot of the black is showing through. You can kind of experiment with some of your wood colors, but you basically want to start with a dark color. I went a little bit lighter because this wood is outside, it's exposed to the elements. And I went across on a second coat because I wanted to get rid of some of that black that was showing through. Once it's dry, I'm using a beige, and I'm doing a dry brush technique. Get a little bit of paint on the brush, and then I just wipe it off on the paper there. And I'm going over most of the board with this, covering up a lot of that lighter brown. Some of it is showing through along with the darker blacks that are giving the shadows. Once satisfied with that, I've switched over to an even lighter khaki and an even lighter dry brush technique to really bring out some of those highlights. It really makes that grain pop. Now I decided to try a burnt umber wash here, and you can see it's going on a little bit thin, so I switched it up and I tried something a little bit darker. Again, you can experiment with washes, see how you like it, wipe the excess off with capillary action on some paper towel there. I'm using a burnt umber. This is an interior wood, thicker logs. I decided to use the burnt umber. You can see I've got the brush, it's fairly wet, but I'm going ahead and allowing some of that black to show through. That's going to get some of the wood grain. It's going to really make that wood grain pop. Now once we get all of our sides of this fully covered, and once it's dry, we can go ahead and switch up to the beige and use a dry brushing technique. And I'm really flicking the brush quite fast, not as fast as the video is going here. And one thing you should note throughout all of these is I'm trying to be careful to follow the grain of the wood. That's going to also, with this stiff bristle brush, it's going to help simulate the wood grain even further. And again, we're going to switch up to even lighter khaki, kind of dragging along the edges for some highlights and just hitting some key spots in there to highlight some of that wood. It really helps to make that wood grain just pop right out of there. Now for the final products. Here you can see the dock piece. This is a little Lego boat. There's our finished mine entrance or mine support. Now what I'm showing here is I've just taken a little bit of black and a really dry brush and just showing how you can make this pop even further, add some weathering and shadows on there. These are the door pieces. This is a really thin foam, so they're going to be really lightweight, not very durable, but then again, you're not going to be doing a whole lot with them. These are some other kind of doors and things that I've made with the same types of foam. Now I already pre-painted this one. I didn't show you this. I used the same techniques, but you can see that I've got one side I dry brushed in light shades, and on the other side I went over it with a black wash to give it an even more aged appearance. And here I'm hitting it with the dry black brush to give you a little bit of shadowing effect. And if you want to do this for a spooky manor or some kind of murder mystery or whatever, depending on the theme of your dungeon room, here I'm using I believe this is a flag red, and stippling and dry brushing in some blood effects. And that's all there is to it, folks. You too can turn regular foam on the cheap and make it look like wood. Quick and easy. You can really enhance your dungeon builds with this. If it's built out of wood, you don't have to use wood. You can use simple wood techniques on any type of foam. Experiment. Try it out. Let me know down in the comments if you have other ideas or other techniques that you would like to see me try. Your only limitation is your imagination. Remember, imagine, build, play. Limited.